Incredible heartwarming story. Young billionaire transforms life of homeless mother and baby. Jake Lange, a tech billionaire whose very name evoked opulence in San Francisco, zipped through the city streets in his sleek, black Tesla. His life glittered with success, neon lights, high-end parties, influence at the touch of his fingers. But beneath the golden facade, his heart felt heavy, echoing with loneliness. One ordinary morning, gliding through the bustling Tenderloin district, everything changed. Amid the chaos of the streets, he spotted her Rosa. A homeless mother, hunched over and cradling her infant son, wrapped in a tattered blanket. The sight hit Jake like a ton of bricks. It was jarring in a city where he'd only known luxury. He paused, his fast-paced life screeching to a halt as her gentle voice wrapped around him, weaving a bedtime story full of dreams and hope, soft against the harsh noise of the street. Her love radiated from weary eyes. In that moment, Jake realized that he was drowning in privilege while she was thriving in love. Determined to know more, he stepped closer. Rosa shared her story. Once she had everything: a husband who was a war veteran, a home filled with laughter, and a future full of light. But illness had taken it all away. Her resilience struck Jake. Unlike the meaningless stacks of money he had, she was a tower of strength, raising her child in the face of despair. A knot formed tight in his chest. He needed to help her. Feeling stirred, he offered Rosa a temporary apartment. The reaction from his affluent friends was sharp. A lost cause, they scoffed. But the disbelief ignited a fire within him. He wrestled with the urge to retreat, but Rosa's spirit lingered in his mind. Her art, he learned, was a window into her heart, raw, profound, and beautiful. Soon, Jake felt compelled to showcase her talent, launching an exhibit to give her work a voice. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As preparations for the exhibit unfolded, doubts bubbled up. Jake feared failure. The weight of scrutiny from his elite peers loomed large. Meanwhile, Rosa found her voice, her art transforming into catharsis, and it breathed fresh life into her weary bones. Their connection became a testament, her past mingling with his desire for purpose, pushing against a society drowning in expectation. The night of the gallery opening bustled with excitement but also anxiety. Mixed reactions arose, sparking fierce debates among the gathered crowd. Would they accept Rosa's story, her art, or would they shun her, echoing the outcast that society had rendered her? They stood shoulder to shoulder, vulnerable yet committed, as a stranger approached Rosa with an enticing proposition that could reshape everything. Jake's heart raced. An unexpected twist loomed large. Had he unintentionally set events in motion that could tear apart what they had built? The question hung in the air, thick with tension. Would love and resilience prevail over doubt and division? The gallery vibrated with chatter, laughter, and the clinking of glasses. Bright lights highlighted Rosa's artwork, filling the room with life but also casting shadows of uncertainty over Jake's heart. He stood near the entrance, his eyes scanning the crowd, looking for clues, a spark of acceptance, anything that would indicate he had done the right thing. Then, he saw her. Rosa, surrounded by a small group, each face reflecting awe as they studied her pieces. Her expression, a mix of pride and nervousness, tugged at Jake's heart. The first comment, spoken with a hint of skepticism, broke the moment. Can we really call this art? A man in a tailored suit scoffed, gesturing dismissively. Jake felt the heat rise in his cheeks. He wanted to step in, to defend her, but instead, he watched as Rosa took a deep breath. With steady resolve, she stepped forward to explain the inspiration behind her work. Her words flowed freely, infused with the passion of her life's story. With each stroke she described, the crowd grew quieter, focused on the depth and beauty she poured into her paintings. but just as hope began to rise in Jake's chest, the stranger, the one who had approached Rosa earlier, interjected. A fascinating story, but let us be real. This kind of art won't sell. His remark cut through the buzz, leaving a silence that enveloped Rosa. Jake's heart sank, the tension palpable as some in the crowd exchanged glances, some snickering softly, trying to hide their disdain. Rosa's face momentarily fell, a flicker of doubt clouding her spirit. Jake rushed to her side, his fierce protectiveness igniting. What you're seeing here isn't just paint on canvas. It's the embodiment of survival, resilience, and love, he declared, his words echoing through the hall. Eyes turned his way, surprise mixed with uncertainty. Was this billion-dollar mogul really throwing caution to the wind for someone so different? The stranger scoffed again, but before he could speak, Rosa gently placed her hand on Jake's arm. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice barely audible, full of grateful warmth. That simple gesture swung the focus back to her. "Art is subjective," she began, strength returning. "It's meant to provoke thought, to evoke emotion." She met each gaze, her eyes sparkling with a vulnerability that turned to strength. As more patrons began to engage with her work, hearing deeper reflections behind each piece, Jake felt renewed hope swell within him. Maybe they were going to make it. Maybe this was the moment where acceptance could blossom from rejection. But just as the mood began to lift, one of Jake's old friends, a man named Carter, stepped in. With arms crossed and a smug smile, he said, "Do you really think a gallery full of tech elites will resonate with a story like hers? They want polished perfection, not broken dreams." Disappointment washed over Jake, and the laughter faded, leaving Rosa standing in the center of it all, vulnerable again. It felt unbearable. He had wanted this to be a transformation, a night of celebration, but it was quickly spiraling into a chaotic storm of judgment and division. Rosa turned her gaze from the crowd, her eyes darting to Jake as she sought reassurance in the swirling uncertainty. He stepped closer, shielding her more intensely now, refusing to let the naysayers dampen her spirit. "What if we showed them? What if we turned those doubts on their heads?" Rosa held his gaze, a glimmer of hope returning. "But how?" she asked, almost breathless, aware that this moment could define everything they had built together. Before Jake could respond, a sudden commotion echoed through the gallery as another stranger emerged from the back, her face illuminated with fire and spirit. "Wait!" she called out, capturing everyone's attention. "You all need to see something." Jake's heart raced once more, curiosity peaking amidst the tension. Had the unexpected just stepped in to shift the narrative? What new turn awaited them all, hovering just on the brink of revelation? The room fell silent, all eyes trained on the newcomer who had broken through the haze of doubt. She was a petite woman with wild, curly hair and an intense look in her eyes. Her presence seemed to spark something electric in the crowd. "Who are you?" someone asked, the question breaking the tension like a bubble. "I'm Maya," she said confidently, stepping into the spotlight. "And I'm here to share a story that connects to the heart of Rosa's art." Jake felt a shiver run down his spine. What was this woman going to say? Would she lift them up or push them into despair? Rosa's grip on his arm tightened, and he could feel her heart beating fast in sync with his own. Maya took a deep breath, allowing the moment to breathe. "Just last week, I encountered a mother and her baby living in a park, struggling to survive. Her name was Lily, and she resonated with many of the themes in Rosa's art, those of love, struggle, and survival." A murmur rippled through the crowd. Jake could see eyes softening, faces leaning in to hear more. Maya continued, "I asked her about hope, what kept her going day after day. She said it was a flame within her she couldn't put out, no matter how hard life got. It reminded me so much of the energy I feel when I look at Rosa's work." Jake watched as Maya gestured toward one of Rosa's paintings, a swirling canvas filled with bright colors, a chaotic yet beautiful depiction of life. Art can tell stories we've yet to hear. It's not about the pretty picture, it's about the journey of every stroke. He felt the atmosphere shift, the thought tugging at the heart of the spectators. This was exactly what Rosa was trying to convey. Maya's voice grew firmer. What if we could use this moment not just to showcase art, but to uplift those who feel voiceless? What if we turned this into a fundraiser for Lily and others like her who fight every day just to stay alive? The crowd buzzed with energy, caught up in the swell of Maya's words. Jake watched Rosa's face transform, her expression shifting from uncertainty to a shimmering resolve. We could do something real, she breathed, her eyes wide with possibilities. And why stop at one story? Maya continued, her words igniting excitement. There are countless voices out there, and this gallery could be the launch pad for their stories to reach the world. A wave of applause broke out, echoing through the hall as people began to nod in agreement. Jake felt a warm surge of pride for both Rosa and the cause they could rally around together. The naysayers were being drowned out by a sea of hope, and it felt electric. Carter's smirk had vanished as he stood, arms now uncrossed, as though he too was drawn to the idea blooming in the air. "I'll match the first 1,000 in donations," someone called from the back of the room. 2,000. Shouted another, the enthusiasm multiplying by the moment. Rosa looked at Jake, her eyes shimmering with unshed tears. "This is happening," she whispered, disbelief and joy intertwined on her face. But before Jake could respond, a flicker of concern echoed through his mind. Could this be too much too soon? The anticipation of what could happen next sat heavily on his heart, like the moments before a cliff dive. "Are we really ready for this?" he asked, his voice hoarse. As if reading his doubts, Rosa squeezed his hand tightly. "We have to be," she replied, her determination crystal clear. The energy swirled around them, wild and exhilarating as Jake looked back at Maya, the stranger who had just pulled hope from the ashes. And then, amid the excitement, a voice rang out, faltering yet powerful from the back of the room. "But what if it all falls apart?" The crowd turned, uncertainty creeping back in. Jake's heartbeat escalated, the weight of the response resonating through the space. What if their moment of triumph had just invited a path for failure? The room held its breath, suspended in a moment that felt unbearably delicate. Jake's stomach twisted at the voice's echo, and all eyes darted toward the figure who had just shattered the fragile atmosphere. A man stood there, shoulders slumped, his face a mask of apprehension and doubt. "Who are you?" Maya asked, her tone patient yet probing. "Just someone who has seen things that didn't end how everyone hoped." His voice trembled, yet the sincerity gripped the audience's attention. "Tell us more," Maya prompted gently, as if welcoming a wounded bird. He hesitated, glancing around, his gaze landing on Rosa. "I used to be in a similar position," he began, his voice barely above a whisper. "My mother struggled. I thought art could change our fate, give us hope. But we lost everything. I don't want to see you all chase a fantasy." Jake felt a pang of pain slice through the room. Memories bubbled up of those moments when he and Rosa had faced despair. He understood the man's fears, his haunted look mirrored the struggles they all carried, the weight of reality pressing down like a thick fog. "I don't want to crush hope," the man continued, his voice strengthening as he looked around. "But I don't want you to believe it's simple, that you can just wave a wand and everyone will be okay. It's hard work. It takes more than just good intentions." Maya stepped closer, empathy radiating from her. "You're right. It's not easy. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't try. It doesn't mean we shouldn't lend our voices to the voiceless," she replied. The warmth in her tone felt like a balm against the harsh words. "I want to believe you," he admitted, a crack in his armor, revealing a yearning that was shared by many in the room. "But what if it gets worse? What if you can't help them all? What if it all just falls apart?" Jake felt Rosa's grip tighten further, the spark of her determination igniting a flicker of courage within him. "But what if it works?" he found himself saying, his own voice rising above the mounting tension. "What if we can actually make a difference?" The crowd shifted, a ripple of energy cascading through as they absorbed Jake's words. Imagine if just one person, like Lily, felt seen and cared for. It could change everything. Hope could be the first step towards something bigger. The man looked down, that flicker of doubt clashing with a burgeoning possibility. Maybe he could allow himself to hope a little more. Maya nodded, sensing the change in mood. Art isn't just about beauty, it's about truth, about connection. What if these stories inspire others? What if they rally behind our cause? It's not just on our shoulders, it's a community effort. We could build something together. Jake locked eyes with Rosa, and in that silence, reassurances passed between them. They knew the risks, but they also felt the fire of potential burning brighter than the fears. As if the room collectively inhaled, the doubts began to dissipate. The man took a deep breath, a hint of vulnerability cracking through. If I join, can we really help? The audience began to nod, a chorus of agreement rising in waves. Maya smiled softly. Together, we can make a difference. We just have to trust in each other. With that, Jake felt the atmosphere shift again. The doubts faded like mist in the sun, and what rose in its place was something extraordinary. Hope. As the applause swelled once more, an idea began to take root in Jake's mind. What if, he began to speak, catching Maya's eye, we brought these stories to life through a series of art installations. Each one highlighting a different person's journey. The crowd flickered to attention, excitement brewing like a storm. But just when Jake felt the magic of possibilities come alive, an unexpected sound cut through the air, a child's wail piercing the midst of their celebration. Everyone turned, startled, as the worry returned with a surge. What now? Rosa gasped, her earlier resolution now shadowed by dread. Jake's heart raced as he looked toward the source of the cry. This was not the end, it was a new beginning, but what was about to reveal itself could either elevate their cause or tear it apart completely. The child's wail sliced through the air like a sharp knife, reverberating in the quiet chaos. Jake's heart raced, every instinct urging him to investigate. He half-turned, eyes trained on the back of the room where the sound had erupted. A small girl, no older than 6, clung to her mother, wide-eyed with fear. The mother's face reflected a mix of embarrassment and helplessness, tears trailing down her cheeks. "Hold on, darling," she whispered, trying to soothe her child, but the words held no strength. Jake felt a rush of empathy. He'd seen too many people like them lost in a world that often felt indifferent. He stepped out from the group, the applause and murmurs fading into a distant hum. "Is everything okay?" he asked softly, approaching them with cautious steps. The woman looked up, despair etched onto her features. I need help," she gulped, her voice faint. "We were doing okay, but the shelter told us there's no more room. I can't let her sleep on the street." Jake glanced back at the crowd, where expressions shifted, the energy pulsing with concern. The previous hope felt brittle against this raw reality. Suddenly, it didn't matter if they could create art installations or share stories. Here was a person in front of him, in need of more than just a vision for change. She needed immediate help. "Why don't you join us?" Maya called out, her voice steady yet filled with warmth. She stepped forward, extending her hand, inviting the mother into their circle. "We can help you find a safe place." The woman hesitated, swiping at her tears. "I don't want to take away from your plans. I didn't mean to interrupt. It's just..." Her voice trembled, overwhelmed by a sense of vulnerability. "You're not interrupting," Jake assured her, stepping closer. "You're part of this. We can't talk about change if we don't live it. We can help you and your daughter right now." The little girl looked up at her mother, her expression shifting from fear to curiosity. A flicker of hope sparked in her eyes. Jake knelt down to meet her gaze, his heart aching for the innocence that didn't deserve to bear such burdens. "What's your name?" he asked gently. "Lily," she replied, her voice small. "Lily," he repeated, a smile creeping onto his face. That's a beautiful name. We'll make sure you and your mom are safe, okay? The mother's tear-filled eyes cast down, her breath shaking as she nodded. Thank you, I just don't know what to do. Let us figure it out together, Maya said, her warmth wrapping around them like a cozy blanket. She gestured for others to approach. We're all in this together. As people began to gather, Jake felt an undeniable shift in the room. Hope blossomed again, this time grounded in action. They exchanged ideas, resources, and phone numbers, rallying like a family. Jake felt the weight of their collective determination, and it pressed against the heaviness of despair, but just as the plans began to take shape, a man burst through the door, breathless and frantic. I'm looking for Lily. He shouted, eyes scanning the crowd. Confusion rippled through everyone as tension climbed once more. Jake felt his stomach drop. The uncertainty in the man's tone sent ripples of worry spiraling through the gathering. Who was this person? What did he want with the little girl? Lily pressed closer to her mother, fear flashing across her face. The atmosphere shifted again, like a tightrope wavering between chaos and resolution. What was this truth quietly unfurling in front of them? And would it tear them apart or somehow bring them closer together? The answers loomed just out of reach, leaving Jake's heart racing with an urgency he couldn't ignore. Jake felt an electric tension hang in the air, tightening his chest. The man didn't look like someone who belonged in the warm, supportive environment that had just begun to bloom. He was disheveled, sweat rolling down his forehead, his eyes wide with desperation. Who are you? Jake stepped forward, placing himself protectively in front of Lily and her mother. His heart pounded but determination surged through him. He wouldn't let fear overshadow the flicker of hope. I'm Lily's father, the man stammered, struggling to catch his breath. I lost track of them for a moment. I've been looking everywhere. His eyes darted nervously around the room, scanning faces. The mother's expression shifted from fear to surprise, then straight to disbelief. Derek? You're back? Her voice was barely a whisper, choked with emotion. Of course I'm back. I had to make sure you were okay. He replied, desperation evident in his eyes. I told you I was coming. I got caught up for a bit. Lily's grip on her mother tightened further, still unsure of whom to trust. Jake's resolve wavered as he observed the standoff. Was this truly a father? Or had he brought more trouble into their already complicated situation? Maya stepped in, sensing the tangled emotions swirling around them. Wait a second. She said, her voice firm yet soothing. Let us all take a breath. There's been a lot of fear here. How about we start over? Derek nodded slowly, swiping at his brow. I don't want to hurt them. I just want my family back. The sincerity in his voice brought a shaky strength to the room. But what have you been doing? The mother interjected, her voice sharp even amidst her tears. You could have been here. We needed you. Jake watched the unfolding drama, his stomach knotting tighter with every passing second. This wasn't just about safety anymore, it was about trust, the bonds forged amidst chaos. I messed up. Derek said, panic rising. I know that. I thought I could finally get us back on our feet, but things slipped away so fast. His eyes softened as he met Lily's gaze. I love you, Lily. I'm so sorry. Waves of tension rolled through the group as Jake observed how Lily's expression softened slightly. She took a small step forward, still uncertain but visibly drawn to the man. The room was thick with unspoken words, the crowd holding its collective breath. Look, we've been trying to find immediate help for your family, Maya interjected, trying to pull the focus back to the situation at hand. We want to support you all. But you need to work together. Exactly, Jake added, taking a small step back, allowing room for the family. This isn't just about one person. It's about your family as a whole. With a trembling hand, the mother reached for Derek. "I don't know if I can trust you again." Her voice broke as she spoke, the raw honesty hitting everyone in the room. "But I want to try." "I'll prove it," Derek replied, stepping closer, his eyes locked with hers. "Please, just let me show you." A wave of murmurings began to ripple through the crowd, people exchanging glances. The weight of their hope hung heavy in the air. This was a chance, a fragile one, but one nonetheless. Could they rebuild their family amidst the challenges that lay ahead? As the tension hung, Jake's heart raced with thoughts of possibility. He had his own battles with trust, and he understood how fragile it could be. It demanded courage and strength that felt out of reach. Would this family break from the weight of their past? Or could they forge a new path, one made stronger by their vulnerability? "Maybe we could help you find resources together," Jake suggested, feeling the pull of new hope bubbling up again. No one should have to navigate this alone. But as they took a collective breath, an unexpected screech of tires echoed outside, followed by shouts. A voice screamed, "Derek, get out here now." Jake's heart dropped again, filled with dread. What other storm was brewing on the horizon? The voice outside cut through the tentative atmosphere like a knife. The crowd instinctively recoiled, casting anxious glances at one another. Derek's face turned ashen, a flicker of terror replacing the relief that had washed over him moments before. Jake's heart pounded harder, each beat echoing the uncertainty that gripped the room. "Who is that?" Maya demanded, her voice sharp, eyes darting toward the door. "What is happening?" "I don't know," Derek's voice trembled. He looked back at his family, confusion and fear blending into a desperate plea for understanding. "I didn't expect anyone. I thought I'd left it all behind." "Maybe we should call the police," someone murmured from the back of the crowd, but Jake didn't like the sound of that. They had just started to grasp the fragile threads of trust and hope. Adding law enforcement could shatter everything. "Let us just see what they want first," Jake said, stepping closer to Derek as another round of angry shouts burst through the air. "We need to stay united." Lily's grip on her mother's arm tightened, her wide eyes glistening with fear. "What do they want with you, Dad?" she whispered, confusion clouding her innocence. Derek glanced at Lily, the weight of his failures crashing down upon him again. "I don't know, I'll handle this. I promise." But as he stepped towards the door, Jake moved in front of him. "Wait," Jake said, his voice firm. "We're in this together. Whatever's out there, we face it like a family together." They all held their breath, waiting for Derek's next move, feeling a strange mix of urgency and reluctance. With hesitation, Derek nodded, a flicker of gratitude brightening his eyes for a fleeting moment. "What if it's someone dangerous?" his wife questioned, fear lacing her voice. "You don't know what they want." "I didn't come back to hide," Derek replied, steel creeping into his voice. "I came back for you." Jake felt the movement of resolve surging, but beneath it lay a tremor of uncertainty. They had only begun to piece their worlds back together, any disruption might send them spiraling again. More shouts rang out, more forceful this time. "Derek! Get out here now. We know what you did." The word sent a jolt through the group. Realization painted the faces around them. If Derek had made enemies, what kind of danger lingered in the shadows? "Stay back," Jake warned, squaring his shoulders as Derek retreated slightly, the flickering light of hope dimming for a moment. "Let me handle this." He could feel the weight of eyes on him, their fears resting on his shoulders. Facing the unknown felt like standing on the edge of a cliff, peering into the abyss. But hearts were fragile. And sometimes, standing together was what mattered most. Taking a deep breath, Jake moved closer to the door, ready to confront whatever storm waited outside. "I'll talk to them," he said, turning back to the family. "Just stay behind me. Trust me." As he reached for the doorknob, a sudden thought pricked at him. What if this was the moment that defined them all? Would they sink or rise? With a firm grip, he swung the door open, uncertainty and courage mingling in the space between breaths. Eyes widening, he suddenly came face to face with a figure that sent a chill down his spine, a shadow of their chaotic past standing on the threshold, ready to pull them backward. "Where's Derek?" the stranger barked, scanning the room with a predatory intensity. In that moment, Jake felt the ground shift beneath them all. Would they be able to shield each other from the demons that haunted them, or would the darkness swallow them whole? Jake's heart raced as he stood frozen in the doorway, the words of the stranger hanging heavy in the air. The man was tall, his dark coat flapping slightly as the wind swept past him. His eyes held a coldness that seemed to pierce right through Jake's bravado. Panic flickered in the crowd behind him, and he could feel their fear building like a storm. "Who are you?" Jake managed to say, his voice steadier than he felt. He glanced back quickly at Derek, who now stood paralyzed, the color drained from his face. "Doesn't matter who I am," the stranger replied, crossing his arms. The hint of a smirk played at the corners of his lips. "What matters is what your father did, and what he owes." An icy shiver ran down Jake's spine. There was a weight to the man's words that filled the air with dread. Every pair of eyes in the room widened in shock, confusion rippling through the crowd. The unspoken fears of the past were clawing their way back into the present, and Jake could see the doubt creeping into Derek's expression. "Derek, what did you do?" Maya's voice cracked, revealing the worry that floated like a shadow above them all. "Let us just calm down," Jake urged, stepping further into the doorway, shielded by a mix of courage and desperation. "You can talk to him, but not here. Not like this. Don't play games with me, kid." The man took a menacing step forward. "We're overdue for a chat. Derek has something that belongs to me." The fear in Lily's eyes deepened, and she pressed herself closer to her mother, who instinctively wrapped an arm around her. Derek seemed to shrink, guilt overtaking him as the sinister figure loomed. "Enough!" Jake shouted, his voice echoing across the tension-filled space. "You're not scaring anyone here. If you want Derek, you will have to deal with us first." There was a moment of silence, and for a brief flash, the man's icy demeanor faltered, a flicker of respect glinting in his dark eyes. His lips pursed for a moment before he regained his composure. "Brave words, but recklessness is not your friend." He smirked again, a predator enjoying what he perceived as weakness. "We're not done here." Without waiting for another reply, he turned and walked away, a specter disappearing into the shadows. Relief surged through the crowd, but it was quickly overshadowed by the uncertainty that lingered. "What just happened?" Maya demanded, her eyes darting between Derek and Jake. "What does he mean you owe him?" Derek's shoulders slumped, an avalanche of regret pulsing through him. It's complicated," he whispered. "I thought it was all behind us. I never meant for any of this to follow me." Jake could see the weight of guilt starting to crush his friend. Yet, there was no time for pity. They needed answers, and they needed them fast. "Then we fight back," Jake said, a fire ignited within him. "I don't care what any of it means. We will face this together. No one goes down alone. Together." The word hung in the air, a new pact forming amidst the chaos. They wouldn't allow shadows from the past to tear them apart again. A sudden thought crossed Jake's mind as he glanced at the door, watching the stranger's retreating figure disappear into the shadows. What were they really up against? And more importantly, how deep did Derek's past run? The echoes of that question sent a wave of determination crashing through him. They were going to uncover the truth, no matter how dark it might be. But as they prepared themselves for the fight ahead, they had to consider, were they strong enough to confront the demons that had haunted them? Or would facing the truth bring down the fragile bridge of hope they had started to build? Jake clenched his fists, feeling the adrenaline still coursing through his veins. The stranger's words looped in his mind, each one a chilling reminder of the past that seemed to be clawing back to claim Derek. He could sense the heaviness in the room, the shared breath of uncertainty hanging thick like fog. "We can't just stand here," Maya finally breathed, her voice shaking but determined. "We need to figure out what this guy wants." Derek ran a hand through his hair, his face pale and strained. "I should have never gotten involved," he murmured, his voice barely above a whisper. "I thought it was gone for good." His guilt was palpable, hanging over him like a storm cloud. "Listen," Jake said, stepping closer to him. "Whatever you're hiding, we'll face it. But you need to tell us everything. We can't fight a shadow if we don't know what it is." Derek nodded slowly, his uncertainty shifting into resolve. Okay. I'll tell you. It was a long time ago. I was in a bad place, making really poor choices." He paused for a moment, his gaze growing distant as if lost in a memory he wished to forget. "I borrowed money from some tough people. People who don't just forget when debts go unpaid." The crowd exchanged worried glances, the weight of Derek's admission sinking in. Maya stepped closer, her voice barely above a whisper. "Why didn't you tell us sooner?" "I thought it was behind me," Derek replied, regret deepening his tone. "I wanted a fresh start. I thought if I just kept my head down and lived right, it would all go away." Jake felt the air shift, a current of sympathy wrapping around him. "But it didn't, did it?" Derek looked away, shame flooding his features. "I guess I was wrong. Now it's right here, knocking at the door." Sensing the urgency, Jake guided everyone to the cramped living room. "We need to come up with a plan. Derek has made mistakes, but we'll work together to set things right. What's our first step?" A tense silence filled the air until Lily, the youngest and most frightened, piped up, "Maybe we can find out more about him." "The man. What does he want?" "That's smart," Jake nodded with a glance at Maya. "If we can learn about the stranger, we might figure out how to deal with him." With the group gathered, they began brainstorming. Each voice, each suggestion brought a flicker of hope. Ideas flowed. They would talk to people in town, piecing together any information they could find about this stranger with icy eyes. But anxiety sat in Jake's stomach like a stone. The thought of the man lurking, waiting for his moment, made him feel exposed and vulnerable. What if they were unable to protect Derek? And what if the fight ahead was more than any of them could handle? As they gathered more information over the following days, a picture began to form. Derek's past wasn't just about debt, the web stretched wider: betrayals, connections to people far darker than anyone had imagined. In the midst of their frantic planning, Jake noticed an unsettling change in Derek. Each day, as the reality of the stranger's intentions loomed closer, Derek seemed to pull further inside himself, his laughter dimming, his shoulders sagging more heavily, burdened by guilt and the weight of what was to come. "Derek," Jake said one evening, stopping the spiraling thoughts. "You're not alone in this. Remember, we're all in this together." Derek finally met Jake's gaze, a flicker of gratitude illuminating his tired eyes. "I appreciate that, but the danger is real. I don't know how to keep you all safe." "And we want to let you find out," Maya chimed in. "We'll fight together or not at all. That's how it's going to work." As they fortified their plan, the shadows crept closer still. Each day the stranger lingered at the edges of their lives, a constant threat that loomed large. They needed to act before it was too late. But as the clock ticked and the stakes escalated, Jake couldn't shake the chilling thought: what if the truth was far worse than any of them feared? Outside, the wind howled ominously, as if echoing the tension swelling inside. Tomorrow would bring confrontation, and Jake couldn't help but wonder how the fragile threads connecting their friendship would hold against the inevitable storm. What awaited them on the other side of dawn? As the dawn broke over the city, Jake felt the weight of what lay ahead. The sun's light drew hesitant shadows away from the corners, but it wouldn't erase the darkness looming just outside their walls. The atmosphere thickened like fog, a reminder of the uncertainty they all faced together, gathered in the living room, the group exchanged anxious glances. Jake looked at each familiar face: Rosa, Derek, Maya, and even Lily, their hopeful little spark in this chaos. "We need to hold on to the strength we've built," he said, his voice steadier than he felt. "We can't let fear dictate our actions." As if sensing their collective determination, Rosa stepped forward, her eyes fierce. "We've come too far. Together, we can rise against this. Just like I did with my art, we can create a new story. A story of resilience." Her passion ignited something in all of them, a fire of hope that turned words into action. "All right," Derek said, his voice trembling but growing firmer. "I'll reach out to some old friends. Maybe they can help us understand how deep my debts go. If we know more, we can formulate a plan." Maya squeezed Derek's shoulder, her support palpable. "I'll do my research too. We can dig up as much information as we can try to uncover the truth behind this guy. Together." Lily, clinging to her mother's side, fixed her bright eyes on Derek. "And we can be brave, right? We will make sure you'll be safe." There was an innocent determination in her words, and for a moment, it reminded them all of their shared mission. As the hours passed, their resolve blossomed. Jake led the way in generating new ideas. They split responsibilities, some delving into research while others prepared for confrontations. They were an army of hope, woven together by shared struggles and the thread of love. Jake felt alive in that moment, purpose driving every interaction. They needed to move before the shadow outside grew bolder. As night fell, he and Maya ventured out to gather intel. They sought solace in the familiar neighborhoods, reaching out to local business owners who might know of Derek's past. With each encounter, fear slowly transformed into knowledge and strategy. The more they uncovered, the more layers they peeled back. Every name and every face connected deeper into the web. They learned about Derek's past debts, who he owed, and the nature of those who had made their lives unbearable. It felt like preparing for a storm, but now armed with the right weapons they would weather this together. Finally, a breakthrough: a local informant agreed to meet with them, promising insight into the looming threat. Jake felt a rush of anxious energy as they prepared for their rendezvous. They gathered, hearts racing, expectations high, knowing they would soon face their fears head-on. The night air crackled with tension as they met in a dim alleyway, anticipation gnawing at their insides. They had gathered intel, little pieces of a larger story, and now they needed clarity. The informant, a wiry man with a hard expression, paced slowly. "Derek's debts are not just financial," he said bluntly, eyes scrutinizing their reactions. "There's something dangerous lurking behind all this. You're messing with people who don't take kindly to second chances." The warning hung heavy in the air like the breeze stirring the darkness. "I don't care," Derek snapped, a hint of desperation creeping into his voice. "My family matters more than anything to me right now." "Then you better be careful," the informant replied. "They're coming, Derek. You've got time, but the clock's ticking." Jake felt a chill at that remark. They only had so much time. "What do we need to do?" he asked urgently, determined to protect everyone he had come to love. "Prepare," the informant replied coolly. "Because your past is catching up with you, and it'll make sure you're haunted long before it ever shows up." As they returned to the safety of their home, Jake's heart raced. The weight of what was at stake bore down like a heavy blanket. He knew their unity was their greatest strength, but how far would it stretch before it snapped? Hours turned into relentless days filled with planning, community outreach, and determination to protect what they had built. Jake, Rosa, Derek, Maya, and Lily became a family bonded not just by blood or chance, but by choices made in the face of adversity. Finally, the fateful day arrived. They stood united at the precipice of confrontation, each heartbeat synchronized with the urgency of their mission. Derek braced himself, shoulders squared, heart pounding. As they confronted the stranger once and for all, a wave of unease slapped at their resolve. But Jake felt the weight of his friends behind him, solid, fierce, determined. Together, they would unveil courage like an armor, standing firm against whatever shadows dared to creep into their lives. "No more running," Jake declared, locking eyes with the stranger. "You will not take from us. We're stronger together, and we will protect our own." The stranger's frown deepened, eyes flashing with danger. "We'll see about that." But in that moment, Jake realized every ounce of fear that had haunted him was eclipsed by the power of their collective strength. Each person behind him had become a beacon of hope. They were more than any threat, they were an unbreakable bond that would transform their future, and with every heartbeat, they pushed toward an uncertain but filled with promise tomorrow. This was not just about fighting darkness, it was about the resilience of hope, the vitality of second chances, and the unwavering strength of family. They were no longer shackled by the weight of the past. Instead, they had forged something new, bursting like dawn through the darkest night. With the memory of this fight instilled in their hearts, they knew they could face whatever journey lay ahead together. Jake beamed at his chosen family, tears brimming in his eyes. It was a story of hope, a story of love, a journey that had only just begun. Now, if you felt moved by this roller coaster of emotions, you need to hit that subscribe button immediately to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help us get these powerful messages to more hearts. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about this ending. You know we want to hear from you, and share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second to spread the love. True fans understand the importance of supporting our community through these actions, so let us rise together.